So here we go. We're going to call this take two. Pretty much for folks who don't know, last night I hosted and convened an economic recovery discussion focused on Nubian Square and wanted to do a retake because the opening remarks, we had some technical difficulties and we can't be left out here looking like Babyface and Teddy Riley with their battle. So we're just gonna go at it again to let folks know why we had that conversation. So for anyone who's watching, my name's Kim Janey. I am the president of the most diverse city council in Boston's history. I am also the District 7 city councilor. I proudly represent Roxbury, South End, Dorchester, and Fenway on the Boston City Council. And as I've already said last night, I hosted the Economic Recovery of Nubian Square Town Hall. And the purpose of the town hall was to create space for a community-driven, solutions-oriented conversation that really was a conversation, a continual of the conversations that many of us had already been having. I had already been hosting meetings pre-COVID, so have many of the stakeholders who joined us last night, like Black Market, like Roxbury Main Streets, and the Office of Economic Development. And so this is in some way an opportunity for us to build upon that work. And we had a great panel, we had a lot of great discussion, and it was really timely because all of us know that the Black community is being disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, and that should not be a surprise to anyone, given where we start from. So on the health side of this equation, we have a 30-year life expectancy gap in my district, depending on where you live, what your zip code is. And on the wealth side, there's a $250,000 gap in the city of Boston between Black households and white households. And so that's where we start. And so it's no surprise to see the impact that COVID-19 is having. COVID is illustrating and exacerbating pre-existing inequities. And there's no way that we can go back to normal. And why would we want to? When we know that normal is a slow and painful death for poor Black people. So our recovery efforts must be equitable. We can't just pump out a bunch of money to anyone and everyone who has their hand out. We have to prioritize lifting up those who have been left behind historically. And that's, what we were trying to do in our conversation last night. And that is certainly my focus as the president of the Boston City Council and as the District 7 city councilor. And I know that things are extremely difficult on all fronts. But I was recently reminded of how resilient we are. And I'm wearing my t-shirt. This is designed by Vic Breedy, and it says genetically resilient because that is exactly who we are. We're not waiting around for saviors to come fix things or save us. And that includes city government. We're not waiting around for city government to come and fix things, but we must hold government accountable to respond to the needs of those we represent and those we serve. And that is how we're moving this conversation forward because the community must drive the conversation and they're the ones that must hold us all accountable. And I know how important it is for us to control our own narrative in approaching this work. And we can't just use an equity lens in approaching this work. We also have to use an asset-based lens. As a community organizer, that's what I've done in the past. It really highlights our strengths as a people and as a community. And as an organizer, I know how important it is to work together in collaboration around a shared goal. So I was really grateful to have the partnership for this town hall of amazing organizations. We had co-sponsors, BECMA, the Black Economic Council of Massachusetts, and Shagun was also on the panel. The Boston Ujima Project was a sponsor, and they do amazing work. Black Market was a sponsor. and Kai Grant was on the panel. Reclaim Roxbury was a sponsor, amazing work there. Boston Jobs Coalition, as well as the Alternatives for Community and Environment, also known as ACE. And so just really grateful, not just for the partnership with this forum, but really for partnership on other projects as I've been a counselor, and for the work that you've been doing for a number of years. In the forum, what we were really trying to do was address the concerns of entrepreneurs and small business owners, the concerns that they're facing, certainly during the COVID-19 pandemic, but we all know that there were lots of concerns that business owners had in Nubian Square prior to the pandemic. So we want to, have a place where we could address those concerns, where we could lift up questions, but really focus on ideas and solutions. To prepare for the forum, what we did is we asked people as they were registering to submit questions that they had. Our sponsors also submitted questions. I obviously had questions as a city councilor, and then we took questions during the Facebook Live. So we did air the forum on Facebook Live, and we were able to generate questions from there. Lots of great ideas, lots of great questions. What is happening now, just so that folks know, my staff is working to compile and analyze the information. We took notes during the forum. We're also reviewing the recording so that we can make sure we do a thorough job of lifting up all of the ideas and solutions. We had a lot of clear takeaways, and we want to make sure to share that information back out with folks. And if people continue to have questions, you can continue to try to funnel those in. If they haven't already been answered, we will certainly try to keep up with those and get those answered. I was the moderator for the conversation. I just want to run through our amazing panel that we had for folks. If you don't know, if I didn't mention already, we had the Chief of Economic Development, John Barros. We also had Natalia Urtubey from his office. She is the Director of Small Business. We also had Shagun Idowu, I mentioned that. Beckman was also a sponsor. Kai Grant from Black Market, and Black Market was a sponsor. Malia Lazu from Berkshire Bank, she was with us, and she is just dynamic and amazing. Leonard Egerton and Clarissa Cropper, who are the proud owners of Frugal Bookstore, they were on the panel. And we were also joined by Haris Hardaway, who was just recently elected president of the newly named, or the renamed, Roxbury Main Streets. And so that was our panel. We had a very thoughtful discussion, lots of great ideas, lots of questions that still need answers that we're going to continue to push on. And I really encourage all of us to continue in this work because it is not one and done. It is not something that we're going to just fix with one town hall or a series of conversations. We need to make sure that we are following up with action items and getting the work done, so that each conversation is building and we are following up with real action. So it is imperative that we continue to plan with an equity lens, one that actually repairs the harm that was created, the harm that is still happening. And until we repair that harm, we cannot achieve true justice, and we'll never have an equitable recovery. And so that was what we were tackling last night. It is what we continue to tackle. It is what I continue to focus on as the District 7 City Councilor, proudly representing Roxbury, South End, Dorchester, and Fenway, and serving as the Boston City Council President. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for your continued engagement and advocacy in this work. Thanks.